look at you, glowing like a saint, moving like a specter with a blade. They thought holiness meant harmlessness. They thought light meant safety. But you didn't just walk into that room. You rewrote the definition of purity with violence stitched underneath. You looked holy, but you moved like a strategic assassin. And that's the paradox that terrifies them. Because they can handle demons. They expect demons. But an angel that kills without flinching, that's an equation no book, no priest, no analyst ever accounted for. You carry the glow of divinity and the silence of someone who's already buried too many lies. They didn't see it coming. How could they? Their entire doctrine taught them that light and death cannot hold hands. But you proved them wrong by holding both in your palms and smiling like it was inevitable. They wanted to adore you. They wanted to worship the glow. They wanted you locked in the box of innocence. But what they got was precision, movements measured, cold, deliberate. You didn't stumble into power. You executed it like a surgeon removing rot. They thought you'd whisper blessings. You whispered calculations. They thought you'd heal wounds. You pressed on them until they screamed truth. They thought you were light, but you weaponized light into interrogation. And that's why they hate you. Because you never chose a side. You embodied both. Angel and assassin, savior and executioner, saint and psychopath. They looked at your face and saw mercy. They watched your movement and saw murder. And now, every time you enter a room, their bodies don't know whether to kneel or to run. You created neurological chaos in the system. And that, my friend, is the sharpest weapon in existence. You don't conquer by force. You conquer by contradiction. The kind of contradiction that short-circuits centuries of programming. Because what are they supposed to do when the chosen one plays chess with knives? What are they supposed to believe when the angel of light executes like a shadow-born tactician? You didn't just blur the lines. You erased them. You stood at the crossroads of morality and strategy, and you built a throne from the corpses of both sides. That's the part they can't stomach. You weren't supposed to exist. They wrote rules to prevent you. They built religions to suppress you. They whispered prayers hoping no one like you would ever walk the earth again. But you're here, and you're smiling, and you're moving with the rhythm of something designed in silence for centuries of impact. You don't just move like an assassin. You move like a prophecy finally cashing its check. And every step you take bleeds panic into their lungs. Because how do you kill what looks divine? How do you expose what already walks as both judge and executioner? You are the paradox that burns the temples, the unanswered riddle that kills in plain sight. Because they can't call you evil. Your aura won't let them, and they can't call you good. Your results won't allow it, so they call you dangerous. But even that word trembles when it tries to cage you. You looked holy, and that's why they trusted you. But you moved like a strategic assassin, and that's why they'll never forget you. You are proof that light can stalk, that purity can kill, that innocence can carry a body count. You are the smile in the courtroom and the knife in the confession booth. And every time they replay the footage, they don't see a mistake. They see inevitability. Because let's face it, you weren't there to save them. You were there to show them the truth. That even heaven breeds killers. That even angels are capable of blood. That the sharpest weapon the world will ever meet is the one that walks in dressed as salvation. So when they whisper your name in panic, when they replay that night in trembling detail, they'll remember one thing above all. You didn't walk in to be understood. You walked in to be remembered. And now, They'll never forget the day they saw an angel move like an assassin. You hear it, don't you? That silence after the storm isn't peace. It's recalibration. It's the sound of a system rewriting itself around your existence. They told themselves you were a mistake. They whispered in private circles that you snapped. But the truth? You were the inevitability they prayed would never arrive. They can handle monsters. They can handle saints. But a saint that moves like a monster, that's a different species of terror. They spent centuries building rules to keep light and death apart, to make sure mercy never learned precision, to ensure no one could blend glow with calculation. You walked in and dissolved all of it. Without a single spell, without a single prayer, without a single permission slip. You didn't betray heaven. You revealed it. Revealed the blind spot in every scripture, the hidden clause in every oath. You took holiness and taught it to hunt. They were waiting for a savior. They got a strategist. They wanted a blessing. They got a verdict. They built a temple. You turned it into a war room. You're not an anomaly. You're an update, a patch in the software of power, the glitch that rewrites the doctrine mid-sentence. They studied your walk frame by frame. They slowed your movements down to milliseconds, desperate to find the moment where your divinity broke and turned into something tactical. They couldn't find it, because it never broke. It was always both. You carry that paradox like a blade hidden in a rosary, a prayer that cuts, a blessing that burns, and it drives them mad because nothing in their training tells them how to respond to someone who shines like grace and strikes like vengeance. Every time you step forward, they're forced to confront their own hypocrisy. Every time you speak, their rituals lose a little more power. Every time you pause, a century of dogma trembles. They thought holiness was soft. You made it surgical. They thought purity was passive. You made it a weapon. They thought an angel would never aim. You taught them angels don't aim. Angels land. This is why they can't sleep. Why they meet in back rooms and whisper your name like a virus code. Because they finally understand the real nightmare. You didn't just walk into their circle. You've been standing inside it for years, watching, learning, turning every insult into intelligence, every wound into a blueprint. You are not reacting to them, they are reacting to you. And that is the first time in their lives they've ever felt outplayed by light. Look at them now. The robes don't hide the trembling. The candles don't mask the sweat. Their eyes dart like prey scanning for a predator. But you're not a predator. You're a mirror. You show them what they tried to hide in themselves. Their own hunger for control, their own capacity for harm, their own trembling hands on the blade of morality. And when you speak, it's not rage, it's diagnosis. You name their sickness with a surgeon's calm. You trace their hypocrisy with a sniper's patience. You slice their illusions with a saint's smile. They call you dangerous? They're right. But not because you destroy, because you reveal, because you've proven that light can stalk, that prayer can plot, that innocence can infiltrate. They had a plan for every devil. They had a ritual for every curse. They had a circle for every shadow. But you were the thing they swore would never exist. The angel who studied their playbook, memorized their tells, and walked in not to plead for mercy, but to deliver a verdict. You looked holy, but you moved like a strategic assassin, and that's what will echo long after the candles go out. The day they realized salvation had learned to kill. You didn't just break their system, you became its audit, its countermeasure, its living proof that nothing is untouchable. And now, they're rewriting everything, burning records, scrubbing archives, pretending you never walked in. But they can't erase what's burned into their nervous systems. They can't unsee the angel who outmaneuvered them. They can't unfeel the blade hidden in the blessing. Because you're not a story anymore. You're a trigger. Every time they light a candle, every time they recite a chant, your shadow appears in the smoke, and their hands shake before the first word leaves their mouths. You've changed the frequency. You've altered the myth. You've made them doubt the safety of their own rituals. And that, right there, is power. The kind that doesn't need to shout. The kind that doesn't need to strike twice. The kind that walks out of the room leaving silence as the loudest sound. That's you. That's who you are now. An angel with a blade, a saint with a strategy, a blessing disguised as a verdict. You know what really terrifies them? It isn't what you did. It's how you did it. They're used to killers looking like killers. They're used to monsters sounding like monsters. But you came wrapped in light, soft eyes, measured words, hands as steady as prayer, and you dismantled an entire system without even raising your voice. You didn't storm their gates. You walked through the front door. You didn't brandish a weapon. You became one. That's why the footage keeps getting played in secret war rooms. Not because of the damage you left behind, but because of the calm with which you delivered it. They study the frames of you moving across their sanctified floors. They pause the recording at the moment their oldest member lowers his gaze. They run it back when your lips move, but no sound comes out, and every candle in the room dies at once. And still, after all the analysis, after all the expert panels, they can't find the switch where you stopped being a blessing and started being a threat. Because the truth is, there was no switch. It's always been both. Your light has always had a blade hidden inside it. Your mercy has always had an edge sharp enough to cut through ritual. They've spent lifetimes telling themselves that purity can't plan, that innocence can't execute, that angels don't know how to read a battlefield. And you walked in and shattered that lie in a single night. You didn't just move like an assassin, you moved like a memory returning, like something their bloodline once feared but buried under ceremony and translation. They saw you and felt a tremor they couldn't name. Not recognition, not déjà vu, but something older than both. A flash of truth burned into marrow. This isn't the first time light has come for us, and it won't be the last. Every breath you take in their presence corrupts their data. Their instruments glitch when you walk past. Their prayers falter mid-word. Their most trusted symbols flicker like dying neon. Because what you carry isn't just power, it's a frequency that exposes. You don't need to draw a weapon. Your contradictions do it for you. A halo and a knife, a benediction and a kill shot. A smile that feels like sunrise but lands like a verdict. They trained themselves to fight demons. They built entire religions to outlast devils. But they have nothing, not a single line of defense, for a being who can speak like a savior and strike like a tactician. Nothing for a soul that can love and execute in the same breath without flinching. You've turned their world into a hall of mirrors. Every reflection shows them their own hypocrisy. Every echo is your calm voice pointing out the rot in their foundation. They can't attack you without looking like the villains they always were. They can't embrace you without submitting to a force they don't understand. That's why they whisper your name in coded language. Why their meetings now begin with contingency plans instead of prayers. Why every hallway smells of burnt incense and panic sweat. Because you've shown them that the oldest lie was this, that light and darkness are enemies. You've proven that sometimes the most lethal weapon in the room is clarity. Listen to me now. You didn't survive by accident. You weren't sent here to help them. You were sculpted by pain, honed by betrayal, sharpened by silence, and you walked back into the room carrying the curriculum of your scars. They saw a halo. They never saw the hours you spent in the shadows, learning every weakness, every blind spot, every escape route. They never understood that mercy without wisdom is slavery, that grace without strategy is self-sacrifice. You learned, and then you moved, and when you moved, the myth cracked. They thought they were summoning an ally. They conjured a reckoning. They thought they were importing a blessing. They imported a living audit of their sins. Now every time they close their eyes, they see you moving through their sacred spaces. Calm, precise, unstoppable. They wake at night with the phantom weight of your presence pressing on their chests. They pray in new languages, hoping the sound won't summon you back. But you're already there, not in body, in imprint, in the frequency they can't erase, in the nervous tremor every time they light a candle, in the way their hands shake before they draw a circle. You looked holy, but you moved like a strategic assassin, and that truth now lives in them, like a second heartbeat. Because you didn't just show them who you are, you showed them who they are when their rituals collapse. And that's the real reason they'll never recover. You are not their angel. You are not their assassin. You are the mirror they spent centuries avoiding. And you finally forced them to look. You were never supposed to learn strategy. That was the unspoken rule buried beneath all their theology, all their spell work, all their prophecies. Angels could glow. They could guide. They could even sacrifice themselves if the script demanded it. But they were never meant to calculate. Because the moment an angel learns to calculate, to dissect, to observe, to strike with intention instead of impulse, that's the moment the whole system begins to crack. And guess what? You didn't just learn strategy. You mastered it. In secret, in silence, under pressure. While they were preaching sermons, you were studying war. While they were lighting candles, you were counting exits. While they were performing peace, you were mapping patterns of betrayal in real time. You sat there, glowing in gold, nodding softly, while dissecting the architecture of every lie around you. They thought you were absorbing wisdom. You were collecting weaknesses. And when the moment came, when the masks slipped, when the circle faltered and the truth leaked out like poisoned smoke, you didn't flinch. You moved, not like a victim, not like a prophet, but like a weapon with divine clearance. A tactical anomaly with a smile shaped like forgiveness, and a presence that rewired the room's oxygen levels. That's why they say you're dangerous. Because you turned purity into precision. Because you blurred the sacred with the surgical. Because you smiled like heaven while initiating an internal coup of their entire belief system. They called you holy until you outmaneuvered them. Then they called you cursed. They called you blessed until you broke their formation. Then they called you a threat. But deep down, they know what you are. They know what's really happening. You are the return of an ancient variable, the kind they buried under 1,000 years of controlled doctrine and orchestrated morality. The kind they thought they could drown with guilt and ritual. The kind that walks through their sacred halls without bowing. Because you remember the original contract. You didn't forget what they did. You just waited, patiently, quietly, while they forgot what you could become. And now their circles don't close properly. Their chants don't vibrate right. Their symbols glitch on the floor like corrupted code. Because you walked in, and the entire system registered a threat it cannot categorize. A signal, an echo, a phenomenon that doesn't match any of their models. You are not rebellion. You are recall. They've started whispering phrases they were trained never to speak aloud. Phrases like frequency bleed, like unpredictable holiness, like heaven-tier threat with autonomous patterning. Some even call you the crossed line. The moment when prophecy stopped being metaphor and started taking names. You didn't betray the light. You completed it. You didn't fall into darkness. You used it like a scalpel. That's the kind of evolution they've feared since the first text was written. An angel that doesn't obey blindly, but adapts, adjusts, executes. They trained generations to kneel at altars. You dismantled the altar mid-prayer and turned the broken marble into a message. This isn't about disobedience. This is about memory. About what happens when a being made of grace remembers the cold hands that tried to mold it into a pawn and decides to recode its own divinity. You're not the aftermath. You're the restart key, the reboot. The signal that says, enough with the performance. I've seen behind the veil, and now I move with purpose and judgment, and the kind of holy that doesn't ask for permission. They thought your power was your glow. They were wrong. Your real power was that you understood their entire system and didn't flinch. You walked into their sacred protocols and broke them with calm articulation. And now, the Watchers are on alert. The analysts are redacting their own reports. The bloodlines are panicking in silence. Because you didn't destroy anything, you revealed it. You made them look at their own rotted rituals and called it exactly what it was: holy theater. Strategic manipulation dressed as tradition. You didn't just look holy and move like an assassin. You became a living audit of faith. And every time you breathe, their foundation loses another brick. They'll never say your name in public again. They'll speak of you only in sealed documents, hidden transcripts, black file vaults. Because now you're not a person. You're a trigger word. You're a classified glitch in the moral algorithm. And they'll spend lifetimes trying to decode how you did it. How you turned grace into warfare and made divinity move like silence with a knife. But they'll never solve it. Because what you are can't be bound, can't be erased, can't be categorized. You are the angel that learned the map and still chose to burn the room. Look at me, right here. Don't blink. Because what I'm about to tell you isn't a story. It's a warning. They hurt the purest soul alive. And now the entire universe wants blood. And you're standing at the epicenter of it. Do you feel that chill crawling up your spine? That's not fear. That's the shift. They thought kindness was weakness. They thought purity was naive. They thought light could be stabbed and it would stop shining. But you're not just light. You're a paradox, a saint with teeth, an angel with claws, the purest soul wearing a skin of unpredictability. They thought they could break you quietly. They thought they could bleed your goodness dry, wipe their hands clean, and walk away untouched. But purity isn't fragile, it's radioactive. And when they pierced it, they unleashed something they couldn't see coming, the cosmic recoil. Now every whisper they used to plot is echoing. Every secret they buried is rising. Every intention they hid is glowing like a flare in the night. You were not destroyed, you were amplified. Their cruelty became your catalyst. Their betrayal became your fuel. Their violence activated a sequence older than any religion, any empire, any bloodline. They thought they were taking from you. They were arming you. Listen to me. You're not just a survivor. You're the ghost in their files, the glitch in their timeline. the prophecy they laughed at but couldn't outrun. They don't even realize what's coming yet. They think you're gone. They think the story ended. But you're not gone. You're everywhere. You're in their sleepless nights, in their shifting shadows, in every moment of silence that suddenly feels like a courtroom. Because purity isn't weakness. It's a weapon they can't calibrate. They stabbed an angel and woke up a demon who still speaks with an angel's voice. That's what they don't understand about you. You're not two halves. You're both extremes, light and dark, grace and fury, saint and executioner. And when they forced you into pain, they didn't just shape you. They made you unpredictable. And unpredictability is power. You're not chasing revenge. You're becoming a law of physics, a ripple they can't outrun, a storm with no name and no mercy. They tried to erase you. They branded you. They left you for dead. But you're still here, breathing, smiling, watching. And that smile, it isn't forgiveness. It's the smile of someone who has already won because the universe itself is now your accomplice. They look over their shoulders now. They wonder who told. They wonder who's watching. They wonder why their luck is dying. It isn't luck. It's the bill. And the bill always comes due. You didn't have to lift a finger. You didn't have to scream. You just had to endure. And endurance turned you into a living verdict. This is why they can't stop thinking about you. This is why their eyes dart in crowded rooms. This is why their dreams smell like smoke. Because the purest soul they tried to crucify has become the executioner of their future. You. Now listen carefully. Don't soften. Don't shrink. Don't hide your power under their shame. This is your ascension through pain. This is the metamorphosis of purity into prophecy. This is what it looks like when an angel doesn't fall, but rises with claws. They wanted blood. The universe is collecting, and you don't even have to watch. Just walk. Slow, steady, silent, because silence is surveillance, because patience is a blade, because you're no longer a target. You're the storm walking upright. You're not the victim of their story. You're the author of the sequel they'll never survive. And the entire universe? It's standing behind you now, breathing down their necks, demanding payment, demanding blood, and you just keep walking with that calm, cold smile. Because they'll never understand how a soul that pure became this powerful. And by the time they do, it will be far too late. Now the air around them feels heavier, doesn't it? Every room they enter turns colder. Every mirror seems to hesitate before reflecting back. Because somewhere deep in their nervous system, deeper than thought, deeper than guilt, they know they touched something they should have worshipped. And now the universe is tightening the perimeter. They didn't just hurt you. They committed a cosmic crime, and the crime wasn't in breaking your spirit. It was in misjudging it. You weren't some fragile thing. You were a sacred threshold, a point in time, a divine checkpoint. And the moment they crossed it, they triggered the motion sensors of heaven itself. You see, the universe doesn't rage over every injustice. It doesn't cry at every betrayal. But when someone dares to bleed the pure, it doesn't just retaliate. It recalibrates. The stars shift, the winds change, and the bloodlines that sowed corruption begin to dissolve in slow motion. They thought they hurt a person. What they hurt was a signal, a vibration older than time, a piece of God walking in skin, and now everything they touch turns to static, because the frequency of their soul has been revoked. They're not just being punished, they're being erased, not by your hand, by the very laws of balance they spit on. Let me paint you a picture. Right now, Somewhere in the silence, a divine tribunal is assembling. No courtrooms, no gavels, just frequencies, just light and memory. They're reviewing everything, not just what they did, but why they did it. What it meant, who was watching. Spoiler alert, everyone was. Ancestors, angels, time itself. You weren't alone in your silence. You were under divine surveillance. And now that the footage has been unsealed, the verdict is simple. They hurt the purest soul alive. And now the entire universe wants blood. They'll try to run. They'll rebrand. They'll claim healing. They'll post quotes about forgiveness. They'll light candles and speak softly, but deep inside, they know. They're not being haunted by you. They're being hunted by what touched you. There's no stage left to fake their empathy, no audience left to clap, because the show's over. And what's left? A reckoning. One written in ancestral ink, sealed in spiritual contracts they didn't even know existed. You want to know the part that breaks them? You didn't retaliate. You didn't leak the screenshots. You didn't expose them. You simply became the consequence. And consequences don't shout. They arrive, they fold reality inward. They dismantle bloodlines quietly. Because this isn't revenge. This is spiritual physics. Let's go deeper. There are files, celestial files, labeled with your name, your heartbreaks, your restraint, your silence, your loyalty. And across each page is a simple phrase burned in gold: do not touch. They saw it, they ignored it, and now the light they mocked is burning through their lineage like a sentence passed down through DNA. That pain they feel now, it's not karma, it's a correction, an ancient realignment. They didn't just fail the test, they tried to destroy the examiner. And you're not even watching the fallout. You've evolved beyond observation. You've left the courtroom, left the battlefield, and stepped into the command towers of your own fate. You're no longer the defendant. You're no longer the victim. You're not even the witness. You're the activation point. Every movement you make now sends signals through realms. Every thought becomes law. Every breath, a contract. You are not a soul anymore. You're a force. That's why they're terrified. Because you didn't just survive. You didn't just ascend. You didn't just evolve. You changed the rules. You're not playing on their board. You're not speaking their language. You are the cipher they'll never decode. And now, they're stuck in a loop of collapsing patterns, while the very energy they tried to silence is now echoing back with thunder. They touched purity. They mocked it, used it, betrayed it, and they thought that was the end. But purity isn't a finish line, it's a checkpoint. And every soul that crossed it with foul intent is now being scanned by something they can't name, can't pray, can't run from. And what's the price? Blood, not by your hand, by the gravity of their own actions. You didn't become a weapon. You became a mirror that never blinks, a reflection they can't delete, a judgment they can't dodge. So walk forward, not in rage, not in vengeance. Walk like the storm that forgave, but never forgot. Let the universe continue what you started. Because what they hurt wasn't a person, it was a prophecy. And now that prophecy is walking, breathing, smiling, as they unravel into their own confession. Oh, now the vault's opening, and they're praying the footage inside never surfaces. Too late. Because this isn't just karma. This is a cosmic subpoena. And the timestamp? It matches exactly when they thought they got away with it. They hurt the purest soul alive. They didn't just cross a line. They punctured a divine firewall. And now, every digital trace, every whispered joke, every concealed strategy, every twisted smile behind a closed door, is playing back like a leaked surveillance feed from heaven's war room. Footage doesn't match, stories don't align, faces flicker when the light shifts. The courtroom isn't asking anymore, it's recording. You didn't cry for justice, you became it, not by force, but by gravitational inevitability, because when they wounded you, they didn't hit flesh, they triggered protocol, something ancient, encrypted in spiritual code. Protocol Omega, soul target breach, return consequence to bloodline, override all deception, activate universal witness, and now it's in motion, slow, silent, surgical. They wanted power so bad, they tried to siphon it from purity. But purity doesn't leak. It backfires, it waits until it's injected deep enough, then it implodes their entire nervous system. They can't breathe in their own homes. Now the Watchers are here. Not humans, not eyes, presences. They move like static in mirrors. They live in the pauses between questions. They're not here to observe. They're here to execute pattern collapse. And their orders are simple. Reverse everything stolen from the innocent. Render payment in spiritual equity. Let the punishment match the memory. Do you know what that means? It means the exact pain you endured, the confusion, the exile, the humiliation, the gaslight, the betrayal, is now being replayed to them, frame by frame, but in reverse. And it's not just happening to them, it's happening through them, to their relationships, their reputations, their projects, their dreams. Every thread they built while stabbing you in silence is now being tugged by invisible hands. This is why their lives feel like static now, why nothing clicks, why trust avoids them, why people withdraw, even when they do nothing wrong, because the universe is protecting others from their touch, because their frequency has been flagged as hostile. They aren't being punished, they're being isolated, quarantined, marked, not by you, by the very purity they tried to drain. And what about you? You're rising, but not in the way they understand, not loud, not flashy. You're becoming an anomaly in the code, a walking contradiction, too pure to corrupt, too dark to control, too evolved to explain. You're the version of justice that doesn't knock. It just walks in and sits at the table they thought was theirs. You're not angry, you're not broken, you're not even focused on them. And that's what terrifies them most. They're not the center of the storm anymore. You are, and you're calm. Too calm, because you know. The blood they spilled became the ink of your elevation. And the universe? It never forgets its scribes. Let's go deeper still. There's a prophecy file, one they don't know they triggered. It was sealed until the day they betrayed the wrong soul. And the moment their fingerprints hit your name with cruelty, the seal cracked. And every generation before you whispered, now. They tried to hurt the innocent? Fine. Let their names be ripped from the archives of mercy. Let their blessings reverse. Let their lineage cough up every debt they tried to bury inside you. They didn't just offend you. They offended everything that protects you. You were never alone. You were just on mute while the Watchers assembled, while the courtroom of the unseen prepared its entrance, while justice sharpened its teeth in shadows. And now, the shadows are walking, and they look like you. This isn't about revenge, it's about restoration. What was taken from you, energy, love, trust, clarity, presence, is returning with interest. And what was stolen? It's being ripped from their hands in their sleep. One opportunity at a time, one friendship at a time, one heartbeat at a time, until they understand purity is protected by violence they will never see coming. So let them laugh less now. Let their circles shrink. Let their support collapse in eerie silence. Because the divine doesn't retaliate, it reclaims. And when the universe reclaims, it doesn't ask permission. It just walks in and takes everything back. You don't have to speak. You don't have to fight. You just have to exist. And let the gravitational field of your survival pull the final thread from their web of lies. They wanted blood. Now the entire universe has drawn a line through their names with yours still shining underneath. Unbroken, unapologetic, unerasable, tick-tock. The silence is louder now, isn't it? They can feel it, even if they pretend they can't. They feel it when the room suddenly chills, when no one's speaking but everything feels watched. They feel it when the lights flicker, when the air won't move, when every message they send feels like it echoes before it lands. Because the courtroom isn't physical anymore. It's metaphysical, it's active, and it's tracking them. They thought they were done. They thought the damage was permanent. That your silence was submission. That your absence was defeat. But what they didn't know is that the moment they pierced your purity, they didn't just cause pain. They activated a living archive. You were never a victim. You were a vessel. And when they tried to spill you, they cracked open a prophecy that was never meant for their eyes. Now they're choking on the ink of what they wrote into your story. They see you now, not just physically. They see your name in places you never spoke. They hear your laugh in dreams they can't explain. They feel your calm in rooms they walk into, trembling. They tried to delete a soul that was mirrored in the very DNA of the planet. And now, the planet is mirroring them back. Not the face they perform, but the one they thought no one could see. The predator, the coward, the liar, the betrayer. It's all unraveling, and it's not public. It's worse. It's spiritual. You don't need to prove anything. You don't need to scream, "I was the good one," because everything in creation already filed the report. The winds remember, the walls remember, your own blood remembers. And now, they remember too. They remember exactly what they did. But this time, they're remembering from your perspective. Not because you said anything, but because divine reversal doesn't ask your permission to begin. It just activates. And when it does, every illusion collapses. They thought your goodness made you soft, that your love made you gullible, that your loyalty was a leash they could choke you with. But your purity, it wasn't softness, it was stability. You weren't passive. You were holding back storms with your smile. And the moment they turned on you, the restraints fell. And now the storm, it's learning to walk in your form, in your frequency, in your name. Because they didn't just break your trust, they fractured a sacred bond. And when sacred bonds break, the entire grid shifts, balance reconfigures. What once protected them now hunts them. What once hid them now exposes them. What once forgave them now collects. The watchers are no longer watching. They've moved to execution mode. The data has been verified. The betrayal confirmed. The soul's light was real. The damage was intentional. Now the system is returning to balance, one thread at a time. And it doesn't need an army. It doesn't need headlines. It just needs time. Because time belongs to the innocent. And right now, time is on your side. You don't see the war because you're not in it anymore. You're above it. You're already through the veil. You're already glowing from the pain they tried to bury you under. You didn't survive. You resurrected, and resurrection is more terrifying than revenge could ever be. Because they don't get to hurt you again. They only get to watch as everything they gained from your pain turns to dust in their hands. And that smile on your face, it's not smugness, It's not ego, it's recognition. You recognize what they don't. That purity isn't weakness, it's cosmic leverage, it's a key, and they stole the key, not knowing it unlocked their own undoing. Now the vault's wide open, and it's swallowing them whole, silently, effortlessly, poetically. You are no longer a person, you're a verdict. You're a timestamp in someone else's downfall. You're the hidden clause in the contract of consequence. And now, they don't sleep, because they don't know which part of their life will collapse next. They can't trust smiles. They can't relax in success. They can't stand silence. Because in every shadow, they hear your name being spoken by something older than pain. By something divine. By something they can't apologize to. So what now? Now, you rise, not in rage, but in reclamation. Reclaim your name. Reclaim your presence. Reclaim your clarity. Reclaim your light that turned into lightning. Because the moment you do, the last seal breaks, and their punishment won't be screams. It'll be watching you thrive in a realm they'll never be invited to again. They didn't just hurt you, they betrayed heaven's favorite. They punctured light and called it strategy. They mocked a soul wrapped in sacred protection. And now, the entire universe is dripping red, but not your red, theirs.
You started with kindness, not the shallow kind people perform for applause, but the real kind, the kind that costs you pieces of yourself. You believed goodness could be contagious, that patience could heal cruelty. You gave chances like they were currency and smiled even when you were bleeding. But kindness in a cruel world is often mistaken for weakness, and weakness invites wolves. They came smiling, of course. They always do. They called you pure, gentle, irreplaceable. And you believed them because your heart was built on honesty, not strategy. You couldn't imagine someone loving the light only to smother it later. But that's the first lesson. The world doesn't hate goodness, it tests it until it breaks. They took from you in small, polite ways at first. A favor here, a compromise there, an apology you didn't owe. Each time you said yes, thinking it was love, each time they learned you would bend. And the day came when bending became breaking, and breaking became expected. Kindness turned into servitude disguised as loyalty. When you finally said no, they called you ungrateful. Isn't it strange? The same people who feasted on your generosity are the first to starve when you stop feeding them. That's when they start rewriting history, painting your boundaries as betrayal, your silence as arrogance, your distance as cruelty. But deep down, they know what really changed. You stopped bleeding for people who never learned how to heal you. You learned the quiet horror of being the good one. Because the good one is always expected to understand, to forgive, to stay. And when you finally refuse, they act like you've committed a crime. But all you did was wake up. That's when you realize why villains exist, not because kindness fails, but because it's exploited. Villains are born in the aftermath of mercy. They come from the same hearts that once believed in everyone. They rise when compassion becomes a wound that won't close. You didn't want vengeance, you wanted balance. But when peace is treated like weakness, balance can only be restored through power. That's when the smile changes. That's when the laughter turns cold. You didn't turn dark overnight. You decayed quietly. Every broken promise, every manipulation, every dismissal peeled something off you until only the steel remained, and people call that change. It's not change, it's revelation. They never met the real you before. They met the version still trying to please them. Now you speak less, and they call you distant. You care less, and they call you cruel. But you're not cruel, you're careful. You've learned that empathy without boundaries becomes self-destruction. You no longer hand out your softness like a free sample to people who only know how to consume. They say you've become cold, but that's because warmth has rules now. Your fire isn't for lighting other people's chaos anymore. It's for keeping yourself alive when the room goes dark. That's the secret no one tells you. Villains don't burn the world for fun. They burn it to see who survives the truth. And so you walk differently now. You don't apologize for protecting your peace. You don't explain your silence. You simply exist calm, unreadable, untouchable. They call it ego, but it's really evolution. You were kind once. Then they showed you why villains exist. And the cruelest part? You don't even hate them for it. You thank them. Because every scar they gave you became the armor they can't pierce anymore. People still tell stories about the old you. They romanticize your innocence, speak of your softness like it was a flaw to be pitied, not a gift that kept them warm. They say they miss that version, but what they really miss is how easy it was to take advantage of someone who hadn't yet learned the price of empathy. They whisper that you changed, and they're right, you did. Change is what happens when you outgrow your own suffering. You stopped mistaking endurance for love. You stopped applauding those who only clapped when you bled. You realized that kindness without self-respect is just servitude dressed in virtue. Now your presence feels different. The same people who once drained you now call you intimidating. They confuse peace with power, and they're not wrong. Peace is power, the kind that doesn't need noise or validation. It's the quiet confidence that you owe no one an explanation for surviving. They try to provoke you back into your old role, the one who forgives too easily, who softens at the first apology. But the stage is empty now. The play is over. You've retired from the performance of being endlessly understanding. You're not cruel. You're simply uninterested in auditioning for their chaos again. You learned the art of selective silence. You don't argue. You observe. You don't beg. You withdraw. You don't threaten. You let consequence speak. Because the strongest statement a healed soul can make is indifference, and nothing unnerves the guilty more than someone who no longer needs closure. They call your distance punishment, but it's not. It's peace. You finally understand that walking away isn't revenge, it's hygiene. Some energies contaminate everything they touch, and the kindest thing you can do for them and yourself is to leave them alone with their reflection. You've seen what happens when light tries to heal rot. It only dims, so you stop trying. That decision was your rebirth. They call it bitterness because they've never tasted self-respect. But you know the flavor. It's silence that doesn't ache, calm that doesn't need proof, laughter that doesn't seek witnesses. They still test your edges, looking for the softness they remember. And sometimes you let them. Not because you're weak, but because you've learned control. You can show mercy now without offering yourself as sacrifice. That's what true transformation looks like, discipline dressed as detachment. You became what they feared, ungoverned, unapologetic, serene. You stopped explaining your darkness because the light that survived it speaks louder. Every calm breath you take is an act of rebellion against the chaos that tried to claim you. And perhaps that's the final lesson. They built their comfort on the assumption that kindness would always answer the call. But kindness evolved. It grew teeth. It learned how to smile while walking away. You were kind until they showed you why villains exist. And now the villain they created is the only one capable of loving peace enough to protect it. You stopped waiting for apologies that would never arrive. That's when real strength began. Forgiveness no longer meant welcoming them back. It meant releasing yourself from the gravity of their guilt. You learned that closure isn't something they give, it's something you take when you finally stop explaining pain to those who caused it. They still think you hold grudges, but you don't. You hold lessons. Grudges rot, lessons refine. Every betrayal became instruction, every heartbreak a syllabus on self-respect. You graduated quietly, left the classroom burning, and never looked back. You no longer chase fairness in unfair people. You let life handle the mathematics of karma. The universe has a perfect memory. It keeps its own accounts. You simply walk lighter, knowing the balance sheet will close without your signature. They wanted you reactive, emotional, predictable. Instead, you became still. Stillness frightens manipulators because they can't steer what doesn't move. You discovered that peace isn't the absence of chaos, it's mastery over reaction. Now they throw storms at you, and you answer with weather they can't change. You understand now that compassion isn't charity, it's choice. You choose who gets it. You choose when to give, when to protect, when to disappear. That's what unnerves them most. Kindness with boundaries looks like cruelty to those who benefited from your lack of them. They mistake your silence for weakness again, not realizing silence is how kings and ghosts rule the same space. You learn that the loudest revenge is progress. It echoes longest when it's quiet. While they drown in noise, you build in calm. They think you stopped caring about people. You didn't, you just started caring correctly. You now reserve your energy for those who water you, not those who drain you. It's not cynicism, it's precision. You became selective because not everyone deserves to experience your peace. They crave your reaction because reaction used to mean relevance. But you're not their mirror anymore. You stopped reflecting their chaos back at them, and now they can't find themselves. You became a blank page, and that terrifies the author of lies. You've outgrown the theater of confrontation. You no longer defend your worth in rooms that profit from your doubt. You smile, you leave, you let silence ruin them at their own pace. That's evolution learning to fight only the battles that build you. And now, when they speak your name, it trembles. Not out of fear, but out of recognition. They know they met something incorruptible. You were kind, and they mistook it for softness. Now they understand. Kindness was just the mask of a soul disciplined enough to destroy nothing and strong enough to survive everything. When you finally stopped chasing the noise, the world went silent in the best possible way. You learned that peace doesn't arrive like a storm, it arrives like a slow exhale after years of holding your breath. While they were still counting the damage, you were learning how to breathe again. The quiet they once mocked became the kingdom they could never rule. They thought peace was a rumor, something you said to sound strong. They didn't believe you could find it without them. Yet there you were, no revenge, no spectacle, just stillness. And stillness frightened them. Because for people addicted to chaos, calmness looks like power they can't interrupt. They keep replaying your departure like a crime scene, looking for clues that you might return. But peace has no reverse gear. You didn't leave to win, you left to stop bleeding. They never learned the difference between giving up and letting go. You did. That's why you're free and they're still bleeding in the same spot where you walked away. They called your silence heartless, but silence was mercy. You could have shouted the truth, exposed every hidden wound, but you chose quiet. Because truth spoken to the deaf is wasted, and you were done performing autopsies on love that died long before you buried it. Now they carry the weight you once carried for them. You gave it back without ceremony. Every unsaid apology, every unreturned call, every empty promise, all of it found its way home to them. That's the part they can't stand. Not that you're gone, but that the pain finally belongs to the right owner. They watch you smile now and tell themselves it's fake, because admitting it's real would mean accepting that peace can exist without their permission. They confuse your stillness with suppression, but peace isn't suppression, it's survival in its final form. You stopped reacting, and that's when they started unraveling. They thought they'd moved on faster, but healing built on denial collapses quietly. You can almost hear it, the crack in their laughter, the hesitation in their joy. You became their measurement for peace, and every time they fail to find it, they curse your name for proving it exists. They still tell the story like they were the strong ones. But strength isn't staying. It's knowing when staying becomes decay. You learn to leave without bitterness, and that's the part they'll never forgive. Bitterness would have meant you still cared. Indifference is the real revenge. They wake up in the same chaos you once drowned in. Every argument, every fake smile, every restless night, it's theirs now. You traded noise for quiet, and the exchange rate was liberation. They traded comfort for control and ended up prisoners of their own habits. And maybe that's the cruelest piece of all, knowing you never had to destroy them. You just had to stop saving them. The moment you walked away, the storm lost its center, and they've been chasing pieces of it ever since. You didn't win by fighting. You won by ending the war. They wake each morning hoping the ache has dulled, but pain never fades when it's fed. They keep feeding it, replaying your name, your silence, your exit. The same questions echo in their heads. How did you let go so easily? But you didn't let go easily, you just let go completely. And completeness terrifies those who live in half measures. They once believed they owned the ending. They thought they could script your collapse, narrate your regrets. Instead, the story kept writing itself without them, and every new page erased a little more of their control. That's the real heartbreak. Discovering the villain of your story isn't you, it's their inability to move on. They still tell themselves that peace is temporary, that you'll come back when the loneliness sets in. But loneliness doesn't live where truth resides. You've made friends with solitude. They still wrestle with it like a shadow that bites. You learn that silence isn't empty, it's full of clarity. They learn that noise isn't comfort, it's distraction with a heartbeat. They hide their grief behind sarcasm. You can hear it in the laughter that breaks too quickly, in the words said too loudly. They call you cold to avoid calling themselves careless. The labels soothe them. They wrap them like bandages, even though the wound underneath keeps reopening every time your name is mentioned. They check your peace the way people check a rival's fortune, hoping it's exaggerated. They look for cracks, for proof that you're pretending. But real peace doesn't perform, it just is. And the more they look for evidence of pain, the more their own reflection accuses them. They ask mutual friends about you in casual tones, trying to sound detached, but curiosity betrays them. Every update is a blade because you're still standing, still calm, still becoming. They thought your world would shrink without them. Instead, it expanded beyond the horizon of their understanding. They used to define you by your reactions. Every sigh, every tear, every explanation kept them relevant. Now there's nothing left to read. You turn the page, and they're still memorizing the old chapter as if devotion can resurrect it. That's the quiet tragedy of control. It evaporates the moment you stop engaging. They don't know what to do with the guilt. It hangs in the room like static. They try to drown it in distractions. New faces, half-hearted laughter, but guilt doesn't drown. It floats. And every surface reminds them of what they did to earn this emptiness. You don't wish them harm. You don't wish them anything. That neutrality is what breaks them most. Because hatred would mean you still care enough to burn, and you've already burned enough for both of you. You left them with silence, and silence has sharper teeth than vengeance ever could. And so they suffer in echoes while you sleep in peace. Their chaos became the monument to your leaving, a loop they can't escape. They still think you'll return to fix what's left, not realizing the cure they crave is the very distance they resented. You didn't destroy them. You simply stopped dying for them. They still whisper your name like it's forbidden, as if speaking it too loudly might summon what they lost. But names only have power when they're connected to presence, and you're not there anymore. You've become myth, not memory. A story they tell themselves to explain why everything still feels unfinished. They once believed you couldn't survive without their validation. They thought your silence was surrender. But silence became your weapon, didn't it? You turned absence into an empire. Every day you didn't speak, you reclaimed a piece of your soul they thought they owned. And now they're the ones craving your attention like oxygen. They wonder how you sleep so easily. They lie awake, replaying every moment, every word, every chance they ruined. But you sleep because you made peace with the ending. They don't sleep because they still argue with the truth. The truth that peace never needed them. It needed you to leave. They try to imitate your calm now, copying your detachment, your stillness. But imitation can't recreate evolution. You earned your peace in fire. They want to borrow it like perfume. They wear the illusion of indifference while choking on what it really costs. They say you changed. They say you became cold. But you didn't freeze. You healed. You stopped mistaking intensity for intimacy. You stopped bleeding for those who never intended to bandage you. The world calls that coldness. I call it clarity. They still think they matter to your peace. They don't. Peace isn't a performance for witnesses. It's a private contract between you and your scars. They were just the lesson carved into the ink. You were always the author, even when they were holding the pen. Sometimes you can still feel their eyes on you, watching, judging, wishing. But the irony is poetic. They created the version of you they now envy. Every lie, every betrayal, every dismissal, it all forged you. You didn't escape them, you evolved because of them. That's the kind of revenge they'll never understand. They live in the same noise you left behind. The same arguments, the same facades, the same games. It's their inheritance now. You traded all of it for silence, and silence rewarded you with wisdom. You became the proof that healing isn't about winning, it's about disappearing so completely that your peace becomes the punishment. They thought you'd hate them forever. But hate is still a kind of tether, and you cut every rope. They're still waiting for a reaction, a spark, a sign that you still care. But nothing burns where peace has settled. You became untouchable not because you hardened, but because you outgrew the battlefield. And now, every time they see you smiling, calm, distant, they see their own reflection in reverse. They see what they could have been if they hadn't played the villain in your story. They see freedom disguised as the one they once broke. And maybe that's the cruelest truth of all. You didn't destroy them. You simply proved they were never strong enough to keep you. They're questioning your love now, not because you stopped caring, but because you never came back to prove you still did. They can't understand that walking away wasn't weakness, it was strength finally waking up. You didn't leave to hurt them. You left because you outgrew the version of yourself that kept begging to be understood. They mistake your peace for indifference. They tell themselves you moved on too easily, that you never cared as much as you said. But they forget you cared enough to stay long after it stopped making sense. You cared enough to try when everything in you was breaking, and when you finally walked away, it wasn't because you stopped loving, it was because you started respecting yourself. Now they look for signs of you in other people. They chase conversations that sound like yours, attention that feels like yours, chaos that distracts from your absence. But nothing compares, and that's what haunts them. You didn't just leave their life, you left an echo they can't quiet. They wanted you to crawl back, to beg, to explain. That's how they measured love, through suffering, through submission. But you learned something far colder. Real love doesn't beg to stay where it's no longer welcome. Real love sometimes means walking away not to punish, but to preserve. Now they call you heartless, distant, cold. But if cold means not returning to the fire that burned you, then cold is survival. You didn't stop loving them, you just stopped destroying yourself to prove it. And what kills them most is that you never said goodbye with drama or speeches. You just left and never came back. No closure, no explanation. Just silence, the kind that says, I loved you once, but I love my peace more. They say you changed, that you became distant, hard to reach, impossible to read. But they never talk about what forced the change. They never mention how every piece of softness you gave them was met with indifference. They didn't kill your love, they starved it. And when love starves long enough, it turns into something colder. They remember the day you left, but not the nights that led to it. The quiet ones where you stayed up trying to understand what more you could do. The apologies you rehearsed for things that weren't your fault. The way you swallowed your own feelings just to keep the peace. That's what they forget, the erosion that came before the ending. Now they talk about you like a ghost that used to live among them. They say your name with caution, as if it might still carry emotion. But you left nothing for them to hold on to. You didn't just walk away, you took the version of you that loved them and buried it under your growth. They don't realize that leaving wasn't an act of cruelty. It was mercy. Mercy for the both of you. Because staying would have meant breaking yourself just to keep something half alive. And you've broken yourself enough times for people who mistook that pain for loyalty. They'll tell everyone you went cold overnight, that you stopped caring, that you became distant out of nowhere. But you know the truth, distance doesn't happen in a moment. It builds, slowly, silently. It's the result of 1,000 disappointments disguised as, "I'm fine." They think you forgot them, but you didn't. You just stopped chasing the same conversations that always ended in confusion. You stopped explaining feelings to people who only listened to respond. Forgetting them wasn't the goal, freeing yourself was. They're haunted by the idea that you never came back, because deep down they thought you always would. You'd done it before, forgiven too easily, returned too soon. They thought you'd break your own heart just to fix theirs again. But this time you didn't. This time you meant it. They check your silence for signs of regret, hoping to find guilt hidden between your peace. But your silence isn't guilt, it's growth. It's the sound of someone who finally realized they don't owe closure to the ones who caused the damage. They'll tell others that you moved on quickly, that you replaced them. But how can you replace something you already grieved while it was still alive? You didn't move on quickly, you just healed quietly. You learned that some people are lessons, not losses. They mistake your calm for arrogance. They think you're proud of leaving, but you're not proud, you're just done. There's a difference between ego and exhaustion. You didn't walk away because you wanted to win. You walked away because you were tired of losing yourself. They romanticize your distance now. They talk about how mysterious you've become. But what they call mystery is just healing. What they call change is just clarity. They loved you when you were soft enough to be stepped on. Now they can't recognize the strength that stood back up. They imagine you're out there, happy without them, and it stings. Because the one who once needed them to feel whole is now complete without their validation. They don't know how to live with that your silence holds more power than your words ever did. They used to think love was measured by how many times you'd return. They used to think walking away meant you didn't care. But now they see sometimes the most painful proof of love is knowing when to stop giving it. They'll say they miss the old you. But the old you was built on pleasing people who never noticed the effort. The old you broke their own heart trying to make others comfortable. That version died the day you realized peace feels better than being understood. They'll rewrite the story, of course. They'll make themselves the victim, the one who tried, the one who cared. That's what people do when the truth doesn't fit their narrative. But you don't need to correct them. You've outgrown the need to be right, you just needed to be free. They'll wonder why it doesn't hurt you anymore. They'll confuse acceptance for apathy. But healing doesn't erase the pain, it just teaches you how to stop revisiting it. You still remember, but you no longer return. They'll try to reach you someday, maybe with nostalgia, maybe with guilt, but you won't respond the same way, because once you learn to live in peace, chaos stops feeling like home. And they are chaos dressed as comfort. They'll call you heartless for not coming back, but you'll know better. Heartless would have been staying just to prove you could. Real love sometimes means letting go and never turning around. You didn't walk away to forget them, you walked away to remember yourself. And one day, when they finally realize what they lost, it'll be too late. Because you won't be waiting. You won't be angry either. You'll just smile, that quiet, knowing smile of someone who's seen the storm, survived it, and decided never to go back there again. And that's the cruelest truth of all, not that you left, but that you never looked back. They still search for you in the fragments you left behind, a song, a scent, a familiar phrase that lands too close to memory. They pretend not to notice when something reminds them of you, but their eyes always betray them. What they're really looking for isn't you. It's the version of themselves that existed when you still believed in them. That's what they miss, not the love, but the reflection of who they were when they had it. They thought that love meant ownership, that if someone cared deeply enough, they'd always return. But you taught them that love without freedom isn't love, it's captivity. They caged you in expectations, and when the door finally opened, they realized too late that they had been keeping the only thing that ever made their world feel alive. They tell people they've made peace with your absence, that they've grown from it, but peace doesn't tremble when your name appears. Peace doesn't scroll through old photos at 2 a.m. Peace doesn't flinch at ghosts. What they call peace is just exhaustion, the kind that comes from fighting memories that refuse to die. They once swore they understood you. They claimed to know what you felt, what you'd do next, how much you'd forgive. But people only understand you when you're predictable, and you stopped being predictable the moment you stopped returning. You became a mystery again, and mysteries cannot be controlled, only admired from a distance. And maybe that's the final twist of it all. You didn't leave to punish them, but to preserve yourself. You didn't disappear to make them miss you. You disappeared because staying would have meant vanishing in a slower, quieter way. Now, your absence walks beside them everywhere they go, whispering the line they'll never forget. You could have had forever, but you chose comfort instead. You know what really bothers them? It's not that you won. It's that you didn't ask for their permission first. They thought they buried you. They thought the silence meant surrender, but silence was your seed. And when you grew, you didn't just rise, you rose in front of them. They never imagined their own friends would become your biggest fans. The same people who once laughed with them now quote you, support you, defend you. That's not revenge, that's justice wearing a smile. They can't process it. Their pride is choking on the applause that was supposed to be theirs. Every compliment you receive is another reminder that they misjudged you. They can't stand that their own circle now mirrors your name. The conversations that used to be about your mistakes are now about your mastery. They thought they'd get to tell your story, but you took the pen back and started writing bestsellers with their silence. They call it luck, but they know it's not. You earned it. You outlasted their gossip. You outgrew their games. And now, they can't escape the reality that they created their own competition. They hate that people believe in you now. The same people who once joined in mocking you now see through the mask they were wearing all along. You became what they feared most: undeniable. Not loud, not desperate, just undeniable. They pretend not to care, but they're watching, always watching. Quietly studying your every move, trying to figure out how you became the one they used to laugh at. They tell themselves it's just a phase, but the truth is permanent, and deep down, they know it. You became the favorite in a world they thought they owned. They can't bring themselves to admit it out loud, but you haunt them. Every like, every comment, every cheer in your favor reminds them they bet against the wrong one. They thought your glow would fade when they stopped talking about you, but it only got brighter because your light never came from their approval. They hate that you did it without them, that you built without their help, healed without their apology, and shined without their validation. Their jealousy isn't about your success. It's about the audience that used to be theirs and now belongs to you. They scroll past your wins pretending not to care, but their pulse betrays them. They screenshot, they replay, they compare. They're addicted to the proof that you're thriving. They can't understand how you stayed calm through it all, how you didn't clap back, didn't crumble, didn't explain. That silence is what destroyed them. They expected revenge. You gave them evolution. You turned pain into presence. You stopped reacting, and that's when you started winning. They gossip about you to people who no longer agree with them. Their words fall flat, and it kills them because they used to control the narrative, and now the narrative controls them. They want to hate you, but every attempt only exposes their envy. Hate requires energy, and they're running out of it trying to keep up with your peace. They still think you're playing the same game, but you're not even in the arena anymore. You left the battlefield while they keep swinging at ghosts. Their ego won't let them say it, but they miss when you needed them. They miss the power they had when your world still revolved around them. They'll disguise jealousy as critique, call you overrated, call you lucky, call you fake. But truth doesn't need defense. It just is. You were never supposed to be the one they applauded. You were supposed to stay beneath them, in their comfort zone, under their control. You ruined the script by succeeding. They tried to destroy your reputation, and all they did was advertise your name. Their slander became your marketing. Their mockery became your momentum. You didn't steal their friends, they just saw something real in you. People are drawn to honesty, and you, for once, stopped pretending. Now, they see you everywhere in places they thought you'd never reach. Their envy has no off switch. It follows them even in silence. They talk about peace, but they sleep next to jealousy. They try to laugh, but every joke tastes bitter. You're not their enemy. You're their reminder that everything they tried to destroy only evolved. They're obsessed with the version of you they created in their minds, the broken one, the weak one, the lost one. But that version doesn't exist anymore. You didn't just rise, you replaced. Their approval, their influence, their control, all gone. They can't erase you because erasing you would mean admitting you mattered. So they pretend. Pretend not to notice, not to care, not to envy. But pretending is exhausting, isn't it? They'll keep talking about you long after you've stopped thinking about them. That's how you know you've won, when your silence makes more noise than their gossip. They'll twist your peace into arrogance. They'll call your confidence ego, because small minds always mistake growth for threat. You became what they could never fake: consistent. You didn't just survive the storm, you became it. They thought they ended your chapter, but you turned the page, and somehow, you're still the plot. Their jealousy isn't loud, it's quiet, lingering, the kind that shows up in half-hearted smiles and nervous laughs. They'll try to downplay your success in public and secretly study you in private. They hate that the blueprint they mocked became the one they follow. Their friends, your fans, aren't traitors. They're witnesses. Witnesses to the moment truth finally outweighed manipulation. And one day, when the noise dies and the masks drop, they'll finally understand. They didn't lose their friends to you, they lost them to the truth. They'll tell everyone you changed, as if change is a crime. They'll whisper that you're different, as if that wasn't the point all along. Growth terrifies the ones who stayed the same. They don't miss you. They miss the control. They miss being able to predict your pain, your silence, your next move. Now, they can't, and that uncertainty keeps them awake. Every time you walk into a room, they feel it, that quiet dominance that doesn't need words. You don't demand attention anymore. It just arrives, like gravity. They can't recreate what you have now, because what you have isn't performance, it's evolution. And evolution can't be faked. It has to be earned through fire. You became their contradiction, the one they said would never make it, yet the one their own friends now admire. You're proof that karma doesn't knock, it watches. They're still playing for validation, while you've become validation itself. You don't chase applause anymore. You attract loyalty without asking. And the most ironic part? They built this version of you. Every wound, every lie, every betrayal, that was their contribution. You are their greatest creation and their greatest regret. They thought your silence was weakness, but it was discipline. They never realized that the loudest revenge is peace, the kind that unsettles, the kind that doesn't need proof. You mastered stillness while they exhausted themselves trying to get your reaction. You stopped defending yourself because truth doesn't argue. It simply exists, waiting for time to expose the liars. They can't stand that you healed in public without ever mentioning their names. You didn't have to drag them to the spotlight, their own actions illuminated them. The world saw, the world compared, and the world decided. Now, every time someone praises you, it's a silent indictment of them. They used to laugh because they thought they were above you, but when people realized who was truly genuine, the laughter turned into hesitation. Now, every joke they make about you echoes with insecurity. They know people are listening differently now, not to them, but for you. Your calmness hurts them more than any revenge ever could. They expected chaos, but you gave them composure. They wanted you to collapse, but you learned to stand taller in ruins than they ever did in comfort. You became the mirror they fear most, one that shows them exactly what they could have been if they hadn't chosen pettiness over purpose. They're surrounded by noise, yet starving for meaning. Meanwhile, your silence has become a frequency of power. It's not that you speak less, it's that every word you do say weighs more than all their empty noise combined. You became substance while they stayed surface. And now, they live in the shadow of the one they mocked. Every step you take forward reminds them of the step they never took. Every victory you earn burns in the space between their pride and their denial. They'll keep pretending. Of course, pretending it doesn't bother them. Pretending you don't matter. But that's the funniest part, isn't it? You became the one thing they can't stop pretending not to see.